Ladies and gentlemen, the long-awaited, highly anticipated Thanksgiving greetings from Coach Terry Michler and Kevin Whalen from Whale Certified. We'll take a special bow. How you do?
Hey, Wales.
All right. So here it is. We're talking, and I says to myself, this is the time for celebration. And you made mention of saying what I was celebrating. You said, we ought to take gratitude, man, that they came before us. That this soccer in St. Louis, hey, it's taking a tumble, man. It's getting beat up. Justifiably, I may add. But let's not forget where we came from, the greatness of where we were, and can still get back. I don't know why not. But all that, you were one of the pillars of St. Louis soccer, and you saying, don't look at me, look over there, look at those guys. And I came up with a bunch of guys the other day. They're soccer guys who meet around town, and they talk soccer, and they invite, every once in a while we'll invite a guy who's got some soccer pedigree, if you may say. And I've been privy to be able to come to a couple of those. And I'm going to start off with the who's who. You got Lou English, for God's sakes, huh? I mean, let's go. And we have Professor Gaffney. He brought some soccer to this town. Am I pronouncing it right? The Collin brothers?
Yeah, Collin, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Terry and Mike. I mean, you talk about how soccer was. They still is. I mean, they know there's T. Howe was in the house. And because of my age, we're similar in age. When you talk of Larry in this town, you're talking about Larry Helser, ladies and gentlemen, which our friend, Johan, and I'm going to chop this name up. Help me out. Johan.
Right.
Said he was the best American player at the time. That Baba Boom, Baba Bang.
You don't get a compliment in that from anybody.
That's right. And you don't get it anywhere other than Whale Certified. Then you got John Pisani, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that guy scored some goals in creativity. He still is a painter. So if you want your house or something painted, you may want to go with the master of the stroke of the paint, John Pisani. Then a guy who came from soccer, lived soccer, breathing soccer, and forever will be soccer in this town, Mike Sorber, ladies and gentlemen, is that Whale Certified. I'm sure you join me, Terry. Just, condolences to Mike and his family in the passing of the father, Pete Sorber, outstanding coach and individual. That his son is a true reflection of his goodness.
That's a nice compliment there. He was a legend in his own right, for sure. It'd be a long list of people that you could talk to that would have high praise for Pete. That list would go on forever, because he was well known, well respected, and had contact with and influence on huge number of young players that went through his program.
And then if you're around my age, up on the north side, you mentioned Pete. Pete Calico, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, give him a shout out. And a Steve Kickham and a Brian Donnelly. That, in my way of thinking, and you have helped me straighten me out over the years, but in my way of thinking, City should say, wait, we're going to have a board meeting, and we're going to invite these types of guys and gals to say what City is, what it should be, and what it will be. That City ain't just, they took the name, and that soccer team, they got soccer people are a part of it. And when you start talking about the City, hey, you're looking at a former City champion, ladies and gentlemen. Did I go off the rail?
No,
okay, and it comes to be of saying, hey, those guys, they're coaching, they'll bring their record to anybody, anywhere, anytime. What they did, not what they're going to do, what they have done, and what they could still do if given the opportunity. And it's about that time. That time is of Thanksgiving. Yes, it needs it more than ever. You got to get beat up a little bit and knocked down. In St. Louis, what happens is that you get back up. And I believe that those guys that are mentioned and all, the judge, his crew, those luncheons, they are just the embodiment of St. Louis soccer. And the St. Louis High School Champions League is a real testament to that, to say, hey, man, we've never left. Never left, man. This soccer it runs deep. And you better bring a shovel, man. That's how deep it is that this is how we're going to make it out of here. And that's what I would like to say. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Terry, to you and your family. You have given me a whole bunch. I want to thank you. And this is a beautiful time, man, because, it's Thanksgiving, but hey, man, it starts the holiday season. Unless you're a Halloween nut. Huh? But, so, that I know that the longest goodbye you'll ever have is when you say hello to the whales. So now, what we have talked about today and this and that and whatever you want to say, have at it, will you, Terry? Help me out.
You got that shovel dug a pretty good hole for me, brother. Dug a water well deep. You get down to where you got past water. I think you're in oil now. Okay. Oh, let me try to figure out where I need to go with all this. So, from my point of view, first of all, tomorrow we celebrate Thanksgiving, which is it's kind of a special day because it's the time of the year when you can gather around with your friends and family and be thankful for things that you have. There's lots of different reasons to be thankful. We all have them. Some are general that everybody kind of shares in, and some are particular and specific to individual situations, families, and whatnot. So I think, it's good that we take a little moment here to just realize things that we are thankful for and having an appreciation and a value on those items, and take a day tomorrow to celebrate together and honor all those moments and activities and times in our lives that we're thankful for. So I appreciate the opportunity today to speak a little bit. Since this is primarily a soccer show, my thanks are going to focus around the soccer that we have in St. Louis and the reputation that St. Louis has for soccer. And Kevin, you mentioned a whole bunch of names earlier on, and names that our generation know and relate to and appreciate, identify with, and give them their just due because they're well deserving. But unfortunately, you could mention those same names to a lot of different other groups and ages of people, and you'd have to explain who these people were. You know, why they're important, because they don't know. You know, we grew up with those names and moments and accomplishments that they all have, and so we honor and respect them and for what they did. But it's kind of fallen on deaf ears for the rest of the people because they don't have that recollection. I've always been kind of an advocate that if you don't honor your past, you kind of going to have a little bit of an empty future, you know, because your past always kind of leads you into a direction that you need to go. And from St. Louis soccer point of view, our past, I would rival any part of the country to come up with what they think is their best and put up against what we know is our best and see where everything would stack up. As we go on, I'm going to talk about some statistical information that lends itself to show how well we were accomplished in soccer, what we did manage to achieve in the past, and why we have developed the reputation that we have over time. And maybe it may not be as current as prominent as we were in the past, but we have that past to build on. And I think the challenge is to, number one, have an awareness of that. Number two, to respect it. Number three, to use that as motivation to try to continue and work back towards those levels. And the last point would be that the challenge is, there's two challenges always. One is to reach the top of the mountain, and then the second one is to stay there. And it's hard enough to reach the top of the mountain, which in many ways we have, and the numbers will tell you that. But the more difficult thing is to stay. So the ability to sustain success is really challenging and really difficult. And many of the names that you mentioned earlier really were names that really have their story in the past, and they really aren't so much a part of what's going on today in the present. And that's unfortunate. But I think one of the reasons for that is that as we go back in time, everything was different, obviously. The amount of soccer that was played was not to the extent that it is today, meaning that there's more players, more teams, more schools playing, there's more everything. Soccer has really grown as the population has grown. Just the physical boundaries of what the city area was in the past to what it is now. By city, I mean more than just this city proper. It's the city and surrounding areas that make up the St. Louis area. It's grown unbelievably. So with that, with that growth, many different things occur. With growth, you have progress, but you can also have some staleness, because if staleness comes with complacency. If you grow and don't grow progressively, you just kind of grow. Growing is a natural phenomenon. You do that without even knowing it sometimes, right? But how do you grow? Is there a progressive growth to it? Are you moving in a positive direction? So as we grow, the question is, how are we growing? What is the growth showing us? Because when I go through these numbers here in a few minutes, you'll see where we were. So the question is, where are we now? And it's a different kind of a challenge, obviously, because there's more. The country has embraced soccer in a much larger way than it did in the past. But also saying that, there was more concentration of talent in areas of the country. Now it's a little bit more spread out. So, for instance, in high school soccer in St. Louis, and I've been part of it as a player and as a coach since 1961. That was my first year as a freshman in high school playing high school soccer, 1961. So it's 64 years, I guess? That's a long time. Back then, there was maybe 20 schools in the state of Missouri that played soccer, and they were all, with maybe an exception of 1, 2, or 3, they were all in St. Louis. So we had a district championship. We didn't have a state championship because nobody else in the state was playing. We just had a district championship. And that was the equivalent then of this being the best in the state. But given that nobody else in the state was playing, best St. Louis was the best that you could be. Then in 1969, the state took over and organized a statewide championship because there was enough schools outstate playing to justify that. There was only one classification at that time in 1969 for a state championship, and you had to have 50 schools participating to have a championship. So the growth was from 20-something to 50. Today, at 2025, there's 4 classifications of soccer, meaning in high school, meaning there's 4 state champions. So again, you got to have a minimum of 50 schools to have a classification. So now at number 20, they added a 0 to it, and it's upwards of 200, minimum of 200. So, as you do that, it's obvious of population growth and expansion. And with that, there's more kids playing, more players of higher level, more talented players, but they're spread out more. There's a few here and a few there, as opposed to in the past there would have been a lot more in a few places, more talent in a few places. Now we have more talent in more places. So, it makes a big difference. So, before I get rambling on and on and on, I think I'm going to turn it back to Kevin and see what he's got to say. But those are my opening remarks, my thanks, and kind of where I'm going to be going with my part of the rest of the program.
Well, I'm a man of sharp words. Carry on.
I barely got a breath. Okay, let's go to the big thing. For me, the big thing is championships, okay? And there's no bigger championship than if you can win a national championship. And I think national championships say exactly what you think they do. You're the best in the big picture, the best in the country. National championships are given to those teams that win against teams from all over the country. The biggest championship that we've had in the past, that we always kind of revered and respected and put our best effort into, was the McGuire Cup. The McGuire Cup was a club championship for players under 19 years of age. The McGuire Cup was the under 19 championship. And St. Louis, this is a number, folks, that will really resonate with you in terms of why we have the reputation that we have. This is one of the reasons. St. Louis won national championships in the McGuire Cup, and I'm just going to take a period of time. From 1960 through 1975, 15 years, St. Louis won 12 national championships. They missed in 61, missed in 67, but got to the finals, and missed again in 73. Other than that, They won in 60, and then they went 62, 63, 4, 5, and 6. Missed in 67, but getting into the final and having a good team and a very good game. Picked back up again in 68, 69, 70, 71, 72. Missed in 73 and finished up 74, 75. 12 national championships in 15 years. That's sustainability. That's unbelievable. That puts you not only on the map, but it puts you on the top of the map. And then from then on, we finished up with championships again in 78, 79, and 81. 84. Now here's a big gap, 96. And another big gap, 2015. So you can see where our the power years were, the 60s and 70s. In the 80s, we had 2 champions, and in the 90s, we had 1. And at the turn of the century, from 2000 on, we've only had 1. So, back in the day, St. Louis was the way. As we move up a little bit from there into the college scene, national championships in the colleges, between St. Louis University, Quincy College, which was primarily made up of all St. Louis players, Florida Valley, Pete Sarber and Harry Kehoe combined there, UMSL, Merrimack Junior College, SIU, Lindenwood, and here's the one we throw in, Michigan State, because Michigan State had been recruiting heavily out of St. Louis. Those schools combined for a total of, looks like 39 national championships.
Wow.
At the college level. So you've got the youth level, the McGuire Cup, all considered there, the youth in different age groups, won a total of 33 national championships. And again, SLU won their last championship in 73. Low Valley won their last in 89. Quincy won their last in 81. And the rest of them, Lindenwood was the most recent one. They won in 2004. Other than that, they were all back in the 60s and 70s and a little bit in the 80s. Okay, so again, put another feather in the cap for winning at different levels during the same period of time. And in the high school ranks, St. Louis high schools have won the Missouri High School Championship since it's been in effect from 1969 on. St. Louis schools have won a total of 102 championships. And remember now, that went from 1 classification to 2, from 2 to 3, and what we have today, 3 to 4. But 102 championships have come out of St. Louis schools. In the senior level, now after we get out of all the school stuff, we go to the senior level. There's 2 senior competitions, the U.S. Amateur Cup and the U.S. Open Cup. And the difference is the Open Cup teams can have players that were professional players. The Amateur Cup could not have professional players. Kudus in the Amateur Cup was running the table. They won from 56 successively, from 56, 7, 8, 9, 60, 61. 56 to 61, they won every national championship. They came back in 71 and won again. 72 and 80 and 81, Bush won. 91, Scott Gallagher won. So, U.S. Amateur Championships. Open Cup, go back way back in history here. In 1919, Ben Millers won the first Open Cup championship, and in 88, Bush won the last. In between, there were 10 championships won. But those are mostly in the 50s. Those are mostly up to the 50s, 30s and 40s and 50s. So, my goodness, those numbers are overwhelming. I'm not a big numbers guy, but when numbers tell a story, then I think numbers become important. So that's where we were. Okay, so the concern is, where are we now? Okay, now where are we now? Well, we're more advanced in terms of numbers of players, numbers of teams, numbers of coaches, numbers of qualified coaches. Facilities have improved. The growth of soccer has improved across the country. We've got professional soccer now. We've got professional academies. We have so much more in our favor going for us. Colleges now have opened the door for international players. Before, to see an international player, you'd have to watch Soccer Made in Germany on a Sunday morning on Channel 9 to see international soccer. Now with MLS, and with the colleges, even with high schools, with the influx of immigrants into the country in different cities, and St. Louis is no exception. We're seeing a lot of immigrant, young, international, foreign players at the school level. So, yeah, soccer's different now. It's a lot different. But I think in terms of the theme of the day, we can be extremely thankful for what St. Louis soccer history has given us from the past to lay a challenge in front of us for the present and for the future. So where we are today is a little bit of based on where we were, but where we are today is challenged by where we were. So I think, my bottom line here is that we did great. We're doing okay. We could do better today than we are. Can we ever match what we did? Probably. I don't think anybody's going to do that. Those numbers are off the chart. But we can get back into the mix a little bit better, I think.
Man.
Back to you, Kevin.
All right. I tell you, baby, that Soccer Made in Germany, Toby Charles was the announcer, and he helped develop Bill McDermott, ladies and gentlemen, to say, high, wide, and not so handsome. It was easier to make than to miss. Oh, he would like to have that one back. And I mean to tell you, watching that, I just was mentioning it to somebody a couple of years ago, and they said, what? What are you talking about? It's kind of like, how many states are there? What do you mean you don't know Soccer Made in Germany? But that's how it is. And the culture of soccer, so many different opinions and stuff. If you don't meet together, you'll never hear it, and you'll stay away from others. But that's the whole thing about soccer. What's the strategy? How do you play? What is this? And you made it so perfectly clear to me. Is that a lot of what the mouth says, what people say, but what's the criteria? What is the real facts? And it goes to where we play possession. Oh, let me be dumbfounded for a moment, please. What are you talking about? Putting 2 or 3 passes together and losing the ball? You're keeping possession? Or you kick around to the backfield and pin it back to the keeper? That's possession? No. You got to have some forethought about the whole deal. And I was told that those early Scott Gallagher teams in Bush, they played in a whole different level than anybody else around this because of the coaching, because of the wanting to play with skill, wanting, to go to be the best. You can't wish it. You got to perform. And their way of doing stuff at practice and this and the soccer IQ, they were like unbelievable, And it's kind of like there's only certain people that you can talk soccer with nowadays. They, with any depth. I don't like raking, so I like shoveling. And I want to get deep on something. And, several of the people, they said, well, here it is. And, I mean, my gosh, it would seem as if you got all this higher numbers, but the quality. And when I don't know of a player right now, and I don't know of a player right now that back in my youth, I knew, like, you got Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, and Al Trost, Pat McBride, and, Timmy Kirstein, you had these players' names were right off the top of your head. And as good as the all-state team is in Missouri, they're not one name drops. You say Larry Helser, is that they're not like that. And I was wondering, do you think about, the coaches community? Is there any really depth type of talk around this town, around this state, around this country to bring soccer to the best, no matter what the numbers are, but to say, hey, there's no, why does other countries do it? We can do the deal right here, right now.
Well, you just hit the nerve right there, Kevin. Let me quickly make an amendment, an addendum to my statements earlier. The McGuire Cup was the featured cup in the under-19 age group, but the Nyotas Cup was another club championship for under 16-year-old teams. St. Louis managed to win 6 of those. The Levy Club was one of our St. Louis teams, coached by our buddy Tim McAvoy, winning the national championship. Bush and Gallagher had also had national championships. We had 6 of those to go along with the 23 teams that won the McGuire Cup. So, and then we had a couple other. We had another 18 team won 2, and we had a young 13 team from Gallagher under 13 won a national championship. And we had one team win a Dallas Cup competition, which was always a highlight tournament. So you got McGuire Cup, Nyotas Cup, and then you got a couple of outliers in the 18 age group, and the 13 and a Dallas Cup. So as I look at these numbers, and we're talking about this, just based on what you just said about style of play and whatnot, when we were at our dominant best, Kudus was winning everything there was to win at the senior level. And I think that filtered down to St. Louis U, and St. Louis U then filtered down to the high schools. So I think there was a progression. But Kudus was winning in the 50s and early 60s. St. Louis U was winning through the 60s, 62, 3, 5, 7, 9. So they won 7 times in the 60s. And Kudus won 7 times in the 50s and early 50s and early 60s. And then the state tournament started in '69. Prior to that, it was just the St. Louis tournament. So I think that's where we got our footings. Our footings came from Kudus and the way they played. They were a possession team. St. Louis U was a possession team. And I think a lot of us, in watching soccer made in Germany, we saw a lot of possession in that program. So possession was always big in our mind in terms of how we played and how the game should be played. And I agree with you. Today possession is a term that's very loosely used and mostly abused because possession. And okay, so the backs pass back and forth to each other 3 or 4 times with no pressure, and then they knock it back to the goalie, and then the goalie kicks it upfield, whatever, and that's considered possession. What percent of the play is your team maintaining ball possession? How many successful passes are you making? And you build up big numbers doing that, that's for sure. But none of that's progressive. You're really not going anywhere with it. Granted, you're stalling time. And if you're winning and trying to close out a game, that works. But if the game's on the line and you got to play to win, you need to get the ball moving upfield. Passing now has to become progressive. In other words, it's got to be forward. You got to, the new term in the game, you got to break lines. Your pass has to put X number of defenders out of the play. The game has to be focused around the goal. What's your success in number of passes in the final third? That would be an interesting stat, as opposed to the passes in your defensive third, your back third. So, and one more point that you made, and I want to definitely talk about that. The last point, you're going to talk about numbers and the population and whatnot. When you look at Croatia and you look at Uruguay, and I picked those two out because both of those have national populations of under 5,000 people. 5 million people. The U.S., we have 330. What is it about the tiny countries? Holland has 16 million. What is it about those countries that don't have a lot of people, but they have a lot of soccer success? I think it has to be in the culture, which is a very misused term as well. It has to be in the training. It has to be in the motivation. I've just been paying a lot of attention to Thomas Michler, who's come over from Bayern Munich to finish his career with Vancouver. And his interviews are really something that everybody needs to listen to. And he's won everything there is to win. When he introduced him, they take 2 or 3 or 4 minutes to read off everything that he's won. And he's very unimpressed with it. He's more impressed, and he says this in his interviews. What motivates him is the challenge every day to play good enough to stay in the team. That's his challenge. That's his motivation to play well enough each day to stay in the team, to be in the team, to be in the lineup, to have an influence in the game. That's what motivates him. And for all that he's won, and as much as he's played, his motivation is to play well enough to stay in the team. Very humble, very respectful, very mature, very unemotional. Amazing. So, we dabble around a whole lot with this idea and that idea, and this trend and that trend, and this fad and that fad. But at the end of the day, how much better are we for all of that, to be honest with you?
Yeah.
I've said this before, and I'll stand behind it. I think our best World Cup effort was in 2002. And we just finished the World Cup in 2022, 20 years afterwards.
Yeah.
You have to look backwards to say that, we were better then than we are now. So what happens in 20 years that we don't progress? From where we were in 2002, the expectation was, okay, let's keep getting better. Let's see if we can't move that needle a little bit. Can we get one round further? And unfortunately, we've been regressing. Now this summer we host the World Cup in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, 2026. In our warm-up campaign, so to speak, being a host country and not having to qualify, has had its moments. It's had its moments, both good and bad. But the one thing that it hasn't shown is any stability. Has it shown any improvement? Well, we won't know until it really comes to matter. When games matter, we didn't have to qualify. So every game we played was a friendly, nothing really at stake. So we have to be better than we were in 2022 because that wasn't very good. Now, will we be better in 2026? Time will tell. But that's going to be crucial because if we struggle in 2026, means that we got a long way to go. We're at home, got everything going in our favor. We've got more players playing professionally out of the country in top leagues with top teams. So we are advancing in a lot of ways. Can we advance in a collective way? We'll find it out this summer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I feel the need to stuff the turkey. I got a delicious taste in my mouth, but none finer than the ball, the select ball. You're a big fan of the Derby Star, and the select makes the Derby Star. So select soccer ball is the start. It's in the turkey, and it's when you start with the turkey and you get that select ball, you're gonna find yourself you're playing some good soccer, like the St. Louis High School Champions League. And did I mention the National High School Champions League? They play with the select ball. And
you're right, absolutely.
Yeah, and hey, the select. If you got select, you got the Derby Star. It's made by Select, which is the Dutch ball. You said that's the most expensive ball to get.
I don't know if it's the most expensive, but for me, it's always been the best ball. It's got the best feel and the best balance to it.
Yes, but the comic relief is that's why it's expensive, that you had to go to Holland to get it.
Every time we'd lose one, I'd threaten the kids, okay, go ahead and lose it back here. Just pay my flight to Holland. I'll bring another one back.
Yeah. So the upshot of that is, and then it turns to, the Whale is a very charitable type of guy, very, sharing and caring. I'm about to get some certificates and some hand-out business cards of you too can be Whale certified. It's going to come out of Steve Gallagher Printing, which is, that's your go-to printer.
Absolutely. Steve's the best to work with you.
Yeah. The whole story is that's where it's at, is that when you see me, possibly I'll be reaching in the pocket to hand you, bang, a certificate from Whale Certified.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, and the folks over there at Gateway, Gatesworth, those people, they're going to hang up their certificate on a frame.
Put it right on the entrance.
Yeah, well, okay. So that is really tapping into the unbelievable. Man, we spent a lot of time talking. Is that less than 10 more minutes? I think so the people don't fall asleep or something. But
the theme was Thanksgiving, and the thanks that I'm giving is for the soccer culture that we have here, based on our successful past. And the past is always there to challenge the present and the future. Fortunately for us, we can be thankful to having an incredibly successful and wealthy past. Gives us an incentive to do our best to continue that in the present. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for the relationships I've made in soccer. All the guys from Nativity, from the North Side, from CVC, from down all the high school, all the colleges, all the area about soccer, and being a goalkeeper is kind of like a goalkeeper union. You just have that way. the blood flows through each of all the goalkeepers. And about this Whale Certified is that it started, just to hang out. Instead of hanging out in the garage, starting a band, it's just 2 turntables and a microphone, and you're a podcaster. But after 415, I'm not counting, 415 episodes, people have come to like it. That it's a very entertaining and informative time spent listening. And you've been a big part of that, Terry, and I want to thank you and your family. It's kind of like, if it's possible, could I be like the 5th Michler? Back in...
Kevin, under full disclosure, can I use that line? It's your line. Under full disclosure, did you actually, honestly, on your own, individually count 415 podcasts, or did you have somebody help? Where did the help need to come in at?
It came from the platform servicer. they keep track of it. And I look at it like 3 or 4 times a day, even if I'm not, I should do that and see how many views I get. And, I used to try, I was a big hit in whatchamacallit, Iceland. Was it Iceland? I don't know. But I was a big hit in, maybe Norway. I forget. I was a big hit. And I haven't looked back. It didn't add numbers. Numbers didn't come. And so that's why on posting, I said, hey, kind of like, share, and subscribe to the deal, will you?
So, Kevin, under full disclosure again, I'm not trying to abuse that term, but it seems to work. Not only do you have the number of podcasts, but the quality of podcasts that you have has really been a credit to you. You have had so many wonderful guests. I mean, high-ranking people that, to be honest with you, it's like, how the heck did you know and get those people on your podcast? High-level people, unbelievable. Yeah. And the interaction you have with them, the exchange you have with them, the information they provide, the questions you ask, the way you get information from them, really, really incredible. I remember back in the beginning when you were thinking about doing this whole thing, and, I don't think you were 100% sure how well it was going to go. But after 400 plus podcasts, I guess you got to say, you know what? Went pretty darn well. And it really has. Congratulations to you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And that's not a paid endorsement, ladies and gentlemen, with other full disclosure.
Wait a minute, I think that was worth the Wolfies, wasn't it?
Wow! Oh, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve's hot dogs are good. But, man, you got to go over every once in a while over the Wolfies. Out on Woodson, is that where it's at?
I don't know.
Yeah. Off of I-70. I think it's...
Page.
Huh?
Page and Woodson to Wolfies.
Yeah. Quality. I mean, I don't know what it's legal and everything. But once you start eating it, you say, hey, I'm going back. It's, it's not addictive. It's you have a desire for a good hot dog, and it's Wolfies. And
Kevin, it's a hot dog with dignity. It's a hot dog with dignity.
Yes, it is. So, just a couple more minutes. Is that we have this big umbrella about soccer. What does it mean to them, you, us? Everybody's got, a little situation. But I have to ask you, Is there a place like the two places I know? Every once in a while, guys get back together, and they have a little something. They meet and have a little lunch, and some libations, and they really enjoy. It's not like going back, to reunions. You talk about the old. It's just good people coming together that have a common interest in soccer. Is there something like that with coaches?
Oh boy, I would have to say formally no, and then informally, I think you develop friendships over the course of time for sure. And informally, I think there's moments where a few coaches get together, for sure.
Now,
nothing organized, but there's friendships that develop. Absolutely.
So here I am about U.S. soccer. Is soccer top down or bottom up?
Oh, I think it's top down. If it was bottom up, Tom Byer would be featured.
Right, and we can't go.
Tom Byer and Tova would be featured if it was bottom up.
Yeah, and I think that's. We'll leave it to another day. Tom Byer and Tova, holy cow! That's to build a soccer powerhouse. It'll last forever, infinity.
Well, the modern day term now is the pathway.
The pathway.
And then throw futsal in there.
Oh, would I?
And now you're building a player.
There you go. Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. Yes. Totally the pathway. Okay. Terry, as we always do, and we started it with you. You were the first podcast episode. Are you aware of that?
I believe so, yeah.
Yes, that's very nice. And I think I said it at the time. If not, it was a couple other episodes later to say, hey, Terry, whatever you want to say, to who you ever want to say it to, for as long as you want to say it for. This is your opportunity.
Well, Kevin, I'm going to play off of something that you said previously, and it's thanks to all the people that I've become associated with through soccer. Soccer's been a wonderful vehicle for me to get involved, engage myself, to interact, to learn, grow, share, all of that. Soccer has really been all that I need is more than I need. It's given me more than I deserve. That's for sure. But the interactions with players, coaches, parents, and stuff, the game itself, if I had to single out, anything particularly special, it'd have to be the opportunity that I've had to grow through the Dutch program and to make the contacts with the touch, and to be able to take trips to Holland, meet people there, soccer people, understand their game a little bit, understand their training, understand their mentality, and to try to bring that back and offer that into our game. For that, I'm extremely thankful. Okay, and the game has really been good to me. Fortunate for the people that I've been associated with in the game, all the coaches, players, parents, as I said before. So I'm thankful for all of that. Thankful, extremely thankful, and deeply appreciative. Thanks.
Well, there you have it. I mean, I'm not going to shovel anymore. We just hit bottom. So we have it going on, and well, under full disclosure, taking owner, whatever they call it, that a prerogative and so forth. I'm going to declare this. This is the best episode of Whale Certified right here, right now, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I'll try, but I can't get any better. We'll build up from there, but this has been good. Thank you, Terry.
All right. Well, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right. Good night.
All right. Bye.